Hey everyone, I'm Jack Watson. I am a full-time UI UX designer, illustrator, animator, and donut connoisseur. Today we'll be working on an Illustrator illustration challenge, creating a coloring page. A little bit of a tongue twister there. We'll be using the width tool and the stroke width profiles in Illustrator today. To get started, be sure to check the description below this video. There's links there to some great resources, other challenges, the Creative Cloud communities, including our Illustrator Discord, and most importantly, a link to download your file to create along with us today. So we will be working with some drawing tools today, primarily the pen tool. I've got some resources over here, including a link to a past challenge if you need some extra practice with the pen tool. I know that it can be a little bit intimidating, so take all the time you need to practice if you need to. We're going to start by creating a light source in our scene. I'm going to open up my panel over here. And I'm just going to draw on my artboard using the ellipse tool under the shape tools. I'm just going to draw out a shape over here in the upper left. I guess a little bit of a habit from my medical illustration days. I like to start with lighting in the upper left corner. So we're going to be working with the pen tool. Like I said, you could totally do this with a pen tablet if you have one, but you don't need one in order to get those nice tapered lines. We drew out a light source over here because that's going to help us as we're working. We can reference that to make sure that we're considering like the weight of the line depending on where the highlights and the shadows are falling. So let's get into it and I'll explain as we go. I'm going to start by grabbing my pen tool over here, and I am going to just draw out some points. At this point, we're not going to be worrying about anchor handles because we're going to use a little trick here to do this. So I'm going to start just by clicking on my artboard. I do have Smart Guides turned on up here under View, Smart Guides. First of all, because I love Smart Guides. But second of all, because we're going to want to make sure that when we're doing this, our lines meet. We want to make sure we have closed shapes as we're drawing. That's going to make it easier for people to color in our coloring page as we work. So I'm just going to start by clicking, and you're going to be like, I don't understand what you're doing, but I'm going to go with it. I'm going to just draw out some points here, and this will make sense in a bit. I don't care if it goes off of the artboard. I'm just clicking with the pen tool to drop some points in here. So just like this, adding some points along our path. It's gonna make sense in a minute. All right, so now I've got a shape here. I'm gonna grab the selection tool and I'm gonna drag it so it's back on our artboard. Maybe I'll scale it down a little bit by grabbing the corner down here, holding Shift to drag. We're just gonna create a shape there. I'm going to increase the line weight up here so you guys can see it. We're gonna go with something like 10 points should be good, yeah? And then we're going to go over here, and I don't actually need any fills today. I only need paths. We're only gonna be working with line because we want this to be a coloring page, so it's only going to be black line. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to remove my fill by just clicking none, and that's going to get rid of it. Now, and this is where the fun part comes in, I'm going to grab my Curvature Pen Tool over here. I'm going to click on this, and as I go through, I'm going to click in between the anchor points that I made originally, and I'm just going to drag out, and that is going to create the shapes that I want, these curves along my path without me having to draw any of them in. Maybe I want to bring this one in instead of having it come out. I can just drag right along here and it's going to create those curves for me really easily. I'm just kind of dragging sort of towards the middle of those two and just dragging outward. So we are creating some shapes. Just like that. I'm actually going to hit Command Z there, and what I'm going to do for this point and this point is I'm going to go to the direct selection tool, the white arrow, I'm going to select that anchor point, and I'm going to use my live corner, and I'm just going to pull it in to round that out, just like that. I'm going to go over here, I'm going to do the same thing, and then I might want to round this one out too a little bit, so we've got a little bit of a round edge up there. Looks good so far, looking pretty funky. I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna round this corner out, going the other way. So now we've got a kind of base shape here. I'm gonna go back up to the pen tool, and this is now where we're going to get into adding in those lines with the pen tool using anchor handles. So I'm going to click and drag up here And when I do that, I'm going to get this anchor handle. And the direction of the anchor handle is going to indicate the direction of the line that we're drawing. So if I draw out an anchor handle like this, as I come down, you can see as I drag in the same angle, it's going to continue to follow that. If I bring it in over here and I drag, it's going to create a curve. So now I'm dragging in opposite directions. That kind of starts here and then it comes down here. So it's following those lines. If I pull this anchor handle out here by just grabbing it with the direct selection tool, the longer I make these, the longer it's going to make the that angle, the stronger that angle is going to be. So maybe you guys can have fun taking. Over here on behance.net/Adobe Live, we've got a live chat every day from 11:30 a.m. Pacific, and maybe you guys can guess at what we are making today. It should be fun. Anyways, I've got this line here. Now we haven't added any line widths to this yet. I want to get the basic shape down for what I'm creating, and then I'm going to go in here and start to add some of those line weights. So I'm going to grab the pen tool again, and I'm going to drag out here, and I'm going to drag a shape that's kind of following my right side over here. So again, I have smart guides turned on, so it's easy for me to snap to that point down there. And I can just use the direct selection tool here to make some adjustments if I need to. Like if I'm not satisfied with this line, I can make some adjustments, curve it out a little bit more. I can bring this one over a little bit more, and we can bring it, something like that. Whatever you need to do to make some adjustments as you go along. I'm going to grab the pen tool again. When I see that it's hovered over this point here, I'm going to drag in the direction of that line, and then I'm going to click once I reach that top point there, and I'm going to make another line like that. And I think this line is a little bit too long. I'm going to bring it down. There we go. All right, so we are on our way to our mystery illustration here. I'm going to add another point here, dragging down, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to drag it up, and I'm going to come over. Now I made that line a little bit too long, so I can go over here and I can adjust my anchor handle by just dragging it back down. And maybe I want this to curve a little bit, so I'm going to go up here and convert this to an anchor handle. So now I've got that shape there. Okay, so now I think we've got enough detail in this so we can start to add some of that line, tapered lines to our illustration. So I'm going to go up here, and I noticed that I don't want this part of the shape here. So I'm going to, with the selection tool, just select this. I'm going to go over here, and under the eraser tool, I'm going to grab my scissor, and I'm just going to zoom way in so we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to cut this here, and I'm going to cut it here. Right where those two lines intersect, and you can see that they are lit up. People are guessing in the chat, broccoli, a flexible tree. I mean, you're all, honestly, it could be any of those things. It could be whatever you want. Today, you can make your own coloring page, and it can be whatever you want it to be. All right, so we've got this here. I'm going to go up here, and now we're going to use the width tool. So I'm going to select this top shape here, and I'm actually going to increase the line weight. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to bring it up to like 15. Or 14. 14 is good. Oh, let's go 16. A little bit bigger. And then I am going to use the width tool, and because we've got our light source indicated up here, I want the highlight or the thinner part of the line to be up here. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. And now we're going to grab our width tool, which is this one right here. It's like looks like a pen tool with some extra an extra shape behind it. And we're going to just drag, click and drag. And if I drag out, it's going to make it really wide. If I drag in, it's going to make it thinner. And we want to make it thinner up here. So I'm just focusing on grabbing at the anchor points here that we made and making these a little bit thinner. Sometimes you need to grab it twice to get it to thin out. So now if we zoom out here, you can see that our shape looks a little bit more like there's a thinner part here, like the light is hitting it. You can also grab the points down here, and we can use the built-in stroke width profiles. So if I click on this, underneath this menu up here, you're going to see a bunch of different stroke width profiles where it says uniform. If we go over here also under the panel, the properties panel, and it says stroke here, we can drop down to profile, and we can choose one from here. I am going to pick this one, which is sort of thinner to heavier. And you're going to see that, like, it's sort of what we want, but not quite. We don't want it to go, you know, from heavier to lighter. We want it to go the opposite way. So we can go over here and we can flip it using this little arrow key. And it's going to flip the direction of it so that we've got the thinner line weight up here and the heavier line weight down here. Then we're going to do the same thing up here. We're going to go and we're going to select that. We're going to go to stroke and we're going to grab that stroke with profile, this time flipping it the opposite way because we want the thinner portion of the line to meet with the thinner portion of the line. Stephen Booth in our live chat saying hand and sponge, hand grabbing a cloud. Lots of great guesses coming in. I'm going to select this line here now, and we're going to make this one probably also have a line weight that goes from heavier to thinner, just like that. Alright, now we're going to switch for a second and we're going to use shape tools. So I'm going to switch over here and I'm going to show you another really cool trick. I'm going to grab the circle and I'm going to drop down to the Polygon tool this time. And as I drag it out, you're going to see that it's got a, I don't know, 6-sided polygon. If I hold down Shift, it's going to scale it proportionally, but I'm going to drop it down to, using the arrow keys, I'm going to go down 1 and that's going to give me a pentagon. I'm going to hold down Shift, so I'm scaling it proportionally, and I'm going to drag it out and we're going to get that shape. You'll notice that my shape still has that stroke with profile turned on. That happens if you go into Appearance under here, and if you have New Art has Basic Appearance turned off, it's going to keep the stroke with profile that you had loaded from the prior path. So to give you an example here, I'm just going to grab the shape tool here. Now it's just got a basic stroke. If I change this to have a stroke with profile, it looks like that. And if we draw a different stroke out now, or a different path out now, now it's going to have a basic appearance, just has a 1-point line on it. So if you can turn that on and off as needed. I think I'm going to turn it off because we're going to be doing some stuff with some additional lines at the top and I don't need it on. Alright, so let's just go back here and change that back to uniform really quickly. Alright, so now that we're here, I'm going to hit Command C and Command F to make a copy and paste in front. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to slide it over. Oh, somebody in our live chat has nailed it. Kiss My Creative says treehouse. You are correct. Alright, so I'm going to click on, once I've got 2 copies of my pentagon, I'm going to select one of the points here using the direct selection tool and I'm going to hit delete. And now we've got 2 sides, just like that. And we can go here and we can kind of get it in position the way that we want it to. And if we wanted to make a slightly fancier roof, we could go here, we can select this, we can hit Command C, Command F. I'm going to grab that corner, hold down Shift and Alt and drag, and we've got a second copy there. Then I can go down here, I can delete these bottom points using the direct selection tool, just like that. I might want to drag this out a little bit more by holding down Shift and dragging, so we've got that shape there. I'm going to select my pen tool, I'm going to click, no I'm not, I'm going to select that shape, and hit Command C, Command F, and we're going to drag it over, and we want the spacing to be approximately the same on the left and right. Alright, so that when we connect these, everything's going to line up. So I'm going to click on this bottom point here. I'm going to select it and I'm just going to drag it until my smart guides tell me that it is placed on that anchor point. I'm then going to go here and I'm going to select the pen tool. I'm going to click and I'm going to click when I hit that other anchor point there. I'm going to hit Command Shift A to deselect. I'm going to do the same thing, clicking on that open anchor point. You can see it's got a little minus sign, and then I'm going to click once I hit that other side. And I'm going to hit Command Shift A again, go over here, click on that endpoint, and just drag it over. So now we've got a nice roof here. I don't need this line anymore, so I'm going to click here, delete it. We can click on this bottom one using the direct selection tool and drag it over. So now you can see we've got a nice little treehouse, and we might want to select everything here and hit Command G. That's going to make it easier for me to move this whole shape around. It groups everything, and I'm just going to select it and I'm going to, oop, I missed a part. Select that part and hit Command G. That's going to make a group, and now I can just move this around really easily. Make sure that it's aligned with the bottom edge of my branch there. Okay, so we've got a good basic outline of our tree and our treehouse in. We might add a little bit of a ground plane here, so I'm going to click, holding down Shift, click. Now we've got like a surface for our tree to sit on. And we need to add another line up here now so that we can have this kind of resting on this branch, right? So I might take this and I'm going to bring it up a little bit. I'm going to bring this point here, just using the direct selection tool, moving things around. Now I can click the pen tool. I can click approximately where this point starts here. I'm going to click and drag in the direction I want it to go. Then I'm going to come underneath my treehouse. I'm going to drag down here to make a nice little shelf for my, actually let's bring it just like that, like a little shelf for that to sit on. I'm going to change that to be uniform since we don't need it to have a stroke width profile. Alright, so we've got a pretty good treehouse going on. I'm going to slide it over just a little bit more, just like that. And we're going to need to get rid of some of these lines here, so I'm going to use the scissor tool again. I'm going to cut right along that edge. Then I'm going to select my group again, and I'm going to cut right along this edge. And I can just hit delete to delete those. And we can do the same thing up here. Cutting this point, delete that, because we don't actually need them. And we can delete that. Okay, so now we've got our basic structure built here. Now we can go in and start to add some details. I like to work large to small so that I can make sure that I am capturing the big shapes so I don't have to redo a lot of the work that I've done already to build this when we get all the details in. So I've got my pen tool selected, and I'm going to start to just add some details to this tree here. I don't need to add every single leaf. That would take me forever. And I just need to give people the impression of that this is a tree made out of leaves, like groups of leaves. So I'm going to just kind of following the shapes that I already have here. I'm going to click right down here, and I am going to wait until it connects there, and I'm going to try and match the curve of this here. So now I've got a pretty heavy line. I'm just going to select it again, and I'm going to go back over to my stroke with profile, and we're going to choose that one. We're going to need to flip it, and we're going to need to make this a little bit smaller, maybe something like 5. We'll see how that looks. Looks pretty good. We could actually probably go smaller on this one, maybe like 1 point. Alright, and then we can just kind of go through here, and we can start to add these little bits of detail that are going to help define the shape of our tree. I've got that appearance, new art has basic appearance checked off, so it's keeping my width profile, and I can just go up here and increase my line weight, and everything is going to stay nice and keep that width so I don't have to keep applying it every single time. It's a little handy trick there. And we can just go through here and we can just add some details. We might add a shape here, right? We're just kind of adding on some of those details. I'm hitting Shift, Command, or Control A. We're just going to add this here. So we've got some little bunches of leaves on our tree. Making some adjustments as we need to. Moving along here. Alright, so we want to end this shape here naturally instead of just having it cut off. So I'm going to click and drag, and I'm just going to make a little bit of a round shape here, and I'm going to switch this one to be this tapered at the beginning and end line. So now we've got a natural cutoff for our tree leaves at the top. So clicking again, clicking here, got like a nice, just kind of feels like it ends more naturally here. Then we can do something fun at the top. If I pull out this way and then come across this way, it's going to add like a little bit of a curve, kind of matching the way that this curves. And we can go up here and we can decrease this line weight again because I don't think we need it to be that large for where we're located here. Alright, so let's zoom out and take a look at what we've got so far. Now we can start to add some more details to our tree, for example. We could go in here as well and we could start to reduce those add some of the stroke width profiles to these shapes up here to add some lighting based on our light source. But I want to show you how you can add some details as well to the tree trunk. So we're going to want to use thinner lines here because the details need to be less emphasized than the main structures of the tree. When it comes to coloring pages, you really want those closed shapes on the base shapes of the object so that people have a really clear understanding of what they need to color in. And you can go with lighter lines for the details here. When I'm adding in details, I'm thinking about, for this, where the shadows are. That's where I'm going to add this kind of indication, Command-Shift-A to deselect, indication of the tree bark or the texture along the shadowy edges here. I'm just kind of going along here. I know that the shadow is going to be along this side, and I'm just kind of adding some lines that are following the paths of the existing tree. And I don't like this shape, so I am going to pull this in a little bit more. This is the great thing about Illustrator, and you can just kind of go in here and make modifications as you need. You don't have to have anything kind of set in stone. I want this to be a little bit wider. And now that I see this in context, I also might want to make this just a uniform path since it is going to be in shadow underneath here. And then we can just go in here with our scissor tool and get rid of that extra line. Oop. Sometimes that happens if you're not quite close enough. I'm going to zoom in so we can see it a little bit better. There we go. Oop. Oh, there we go. Got it. All right. Zooming back out here. We could add some details to our house, but I want to add a little bit of a tire swing. So I'm going to drag a line down from the top to bottom. We're going to change this to a uniform stroke. We're going to go up to our shape tool again, and we're going to pick the ellipse tool. And this time we're going to hold down Shift and Alt to draw out from the center. We're going to hit Command-C, Command-F, and we are going to grab that corner holding down Shift and Alt to scale it so that it's, you know, in the center. We're going to select both, actually all three of these, and we're going to make this maybe like 7 point. That looks good to me. And we can go here, we could select both of our circles. We can add a stroke width profile that is tapered. And we can rotate this. So I'm going to grab my circle. When I see the little indicator show up here for rotate, I'm going to hold down Shift. And I am going to drag, and that's going to rotate it around so that the lighter point of the line from our stroke width profile is facing our light source. I'm going to do the opposite down here. Holding down Shift, I'm going to hold down and rotate the other way, because as the light is hitting this shape, it's going to cast, there's going to be shadow underneath this part, and then the light is going to be hitting it along this edge. So we've got the highlight, we've got that cast shadow, we've got another highlight, and then we've got the shadow over here. Now I might want to increase this weight a little bit, so I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to bring it up to, I don't know, 10 points probably good. There we go. Alright, so we can go up here to the top tree area again, and we can just kind of, like I said, go through here, and if we wanted to change the stroke width profiles to be thinner, if you have a stroke width profile that you want to use, like we want to use this thin to heavy, one trick that I like to use on this is to go up here and just like click with the scissor tool, and that's going to let me, actually we probably need to join these, so I'm going to click here, here, here to join those paths. So now we've got a thinner line here and a heavier line over here following what we would like for the stroke weight. I'm going to select with the direct selection tool this top one here, and we can switch this to be a thinner line to heavier line stroke width profile, flip it, and now we've got lighting being cast across the roof at the top. So I'm going to zoom back out. So we can just take an overview, look at our coloring page here. We've got good lighting, we've got good shapes to connect everything. I think we're ready to go and export to our Discord. So here's our Discord. You guys have been posting a ton of great work, isometric art. You can get a link to our Discord in the description below the video and join, and we've got mentors to review your work. You can check out everybody else, what everybody else is doing. There's a ton of great work in the Discord. I love the isometric challenge here. This is great. I love seeing the, there was one particular, this album cover from Wendwa is so good. I just love the texture and the background on this one. So let me zoom back out here. All right, thank you all for hanging out with me today while we worked on this coloring page in Illustrator. This was an illustration challenge focusing on line weight and using tapered lines to indicate lighting. We are live every day here at 11:30 a.m. Pacific at behance.net/Adobe Live. And I can't wait to see what you all make. Be sure to make it your own. Make your own treehouse. Make your own tree. Make it a spring coloring page with flowers if you'd like. And this is very important, be sure to keep your coloring page handy. Be sure to keep it handy and keep it line work because we might be using it for another challenge coming up here. So be sure to stay tuned here on Behance for more live content after me, and I will see you all later. Bye, everyone.